Just when I thought I had a grip on this summer's World Cup, the time differences, the long winding pathway to the final, and how much money I've saved by not going, FIFA go and throw a spanner in the works with some brand new rules for the tournament. Don't act like you're not surprised. From injury time limits to bans on covering your mouth and an even more powerful VAR remit, this is exactly how the new World Cup rules will affect your team. Now, we all know that football's lawmakers love to tinker with the game. Usually it's some minor tweak to the handball rule that nobody understands, but this time they've completely rewritten the blueprint for how a match is policed. To make sense of the incoming chaos, I've broken these changes down into 3 distinct categories: the good at first sight, the okay I guess, and the downright terrible. Let's start with a bit of positivity, shall we? Because believe it or not, 2 rules are actually looking to fix some of the most frustrating blind spots in modern football. First up, we have the evolution of VAR.
After review, West Ham at number 19.
Now, I know what you're thinking. More VAR is usually a recipe for a massive headache, and we'll come back to that shortly. But look at what they're actually changing here. For years, one of the biggest complaints has been that VAR can't intervene on a second yellow card. If a referee completely bottles a decision and sends a player off for a soft second yellow, the video assistant has to just sit there with their hands tied, watching the game getting ruined. Starting now, that rule is dead. VAR can now step in to overturn a clearly incorrect second yellow card, fix cases of mistaken identity, and even correct wrongly awarded corner kicks if it can be done quickly before the restart. Honestly, this feels like a massive safety net for some teams who like to play on the edge, maybe with a little bit too much aggression. I mean, it does make sense. If you can review a red card that will have an obvious impact on the game, you should be able to check second yellows too. And corners also make sense, right? Like I mentioned, they're supposed to be overturned only if it doesn't delay the restart. However, I do feel like this is the start of a slippery slope into taking every decision out of the assistant and the referee's hands and just having camera-led reviews for everything in the future. Like, there might not even be a ref. Still, for now, given how much set pieces seem to be such an integral part of the modern game, it feels like an injection of genuine common sense. And that brings us nicely to the second good rule, which is going to put an absolute end to the dark arts we see during set pieces. From this moment on, VAR can now penalise players for fouls committed before a corner or free kick is actually taken. We've all seen the same scene play out. The ball hasn't even been kicked yet, but inside the 6-yard box, it looks like a Royal Rumble. Defenders are wrestling, pulling shirts, pulling hair, and basically doing everything to stop an attacker from moving. Previously, referees would just blow the whistle, give a soft warning, and tell them to calm down with very little repercussion compared to when the exact same thing happens seconds later. Now, if an attacker gets fouled before the ball is in play, VAR will recommend an on-field review and the appropriate card will be handed out, and then the set piece will be retaken. So, if you're a team that relies heavily on chaotic physical defending at corners, think of pretty much every single Arsenal corner this season, your players are going to be under an absolute microscope at this World Cup. The sneaky shirt pulls in the box are officially dead. But here's the kicker for that one, and to be honest, any VAR rule. I'm not so sure that any sort of 𝗘𝗫𝗧𝗥𝗔 in the box is worth review, because nothing is actually going to be that bad before the ball is kicked. However, if we are reviewing everything, how long is this going to take? The sheer amount of time to get every single decision run through VAR, corners, second yellows, pulling someone's hair at a free kick, it means we may end up with copious amounts of injury time. Players playing well over 100 minutes per match, and the in-stadium experience, not to mention on TV, going from a frenetic 2 hours to a laboured 3-hour plus event. I think you can see why I named this category good at first sight. Still, compared to what's coming up in the terrible section later, it's not so bad.
Hey, have a f***ing word with him then, ref!
But before we get to that, we have the okay, I guess, rules. The middle ground in all of this, if you will. The kind of rules where you could totally see what FIFA are trying to achieve, but the actual execution of them is going to cause absolute administrative mayhem on the pitch. First off is what I like to call the 10-second eviction notice. We've all seen it a million times. It's the 89th minute. A team is hanging on to a 1-0 lead, and the manager decides to make a tactical substitution to eat away at the clock. The player being subbed off then suddenly looks like he's walking through treacle, clapping the fan, shaking the ref's hand, and taking 3 business days to cross the white line. Well, FIFA have had enough. Under the new rules, players have exactly 10 seconds to leave the field from the moment the board goes up, and they must exit at the closest byline. If they fail to do that, the substitute must wait 1 full minute of active play before coming on. Think about how insane that is from a tactical standpoint. If a player drags his heels for 11 seconds, he forces his own team to play with 10 men for a minimum of a minute. Imagine that in injury time. Managers who micromanage every single second of the match are going to be having sleepless nights training their players to sprint off the pitch. It's obviously much harder as well if you're carrying a knock. It completely turns time wasting on its head. And the logistics get even weirder when you look at another newly timed rule. From now on, if a player receives medical treatment, they then must leave the field of play for 1 full minute after the restart. There are exceptions for concussions and goalkeeper collisions, but for your standard knocks, you're off for 60 seconds. Now, the logic here is solid, right? It stops teams from faking injuries to break the opposition's momentum or catch their breath. But the flip side is that it heavily punishes teams that are legitimately getting caught by heavy tackles. Look at Brazil versus Serbia from the previous World Cup in 2022. Neymar was fouled 9 times in that game. Granted, not every foul is an injury, but I think we can say the Serbians were employing some rough tactics to stop Neymar's momentum. If he gets battered 9 times throughout a game and needs medical attention, he'd then have to miss a combined 9 minutes of the match. Sure, maybe it'll stop some players from feigning injury, but there could also be an incentive to whack the opposition's best player, knowing they'll have to leave the pitch for 60 seconds. Under these rules, you could find yourselves consistently down to 10 men for chunks of the match. And to top it all off, FIFA have also banned tactical timeouts during goalkeeper injuries. If a keeper is down getting treatment, players from both teams are legally forbidden from running over to the touchline to get a quick tactical lecture from their manager. No huddles, no whiteboard sessions, nothing. You just have to stand there and wait. We can't have keepers faking injuries for the sake of team talks all the time. If you add those in, plus the water breaks, oh, by the way, there's going to be water breaks, although that's nothing really new. The VAR reviews, timings can run all over the shop here. It is all designed to keep the game moving. And look, I appreciate the effort to kill off the dark arts of time wasting. But by introducing strict stopwatches and touchline bans, it feels like FIFA are trying to control every single second of the game. It's like being micromanaged by an annoying boss when all you want to do is take a 10-minute break at work to watch some YouTube. Who knows? Maybe that's exactly what you're doing right now. But I guess if you think a 10-second substitution countdown is a bit intense, just wait until you see what they've cooked up for our final category, the downright terrible. Because this is where common sense goes completely out the window. Video aside for a second though, here's a quick hypothetical question for you. Imagine you've been silly enough to book your holidays during the World Cup, or you're travelling somewhere for work and can't get your World Cup fix. You've got your TV licence sorted to watch the BBC coverage in the UK or the ITV coverage, but not abroad. So what do? Well, our office friends at Tom's Guide have the answer because they've tested a wide range of VPNs, and Norton VPN stands out as a strong option. Fast, reliable, and it comes with a 60-day money-back guarantee, enough to cover the entire World Cup tournament, so you can try it risk-free. The best bit, for all 442 viewers, there is also an exclusive offer available. All you have to do is click the link in the description below to learn more.
It's embarrassing. It's a disgrace. That's what it is, a disgrace.
Remember at school when your teacher is trying to get the class to shut up, so they raise their hand with a countdown, a sort of a, you've got 5 seconds. Yeah, we've got referees doing that now, because for every goal kick and throw in, a player has 5 seconds, counted ever so tediously on the ref's hand to get the ball back in play. If the clock runs out on the throw-in, it's turned over to the opposition. If the clock runs out on a goal kick, you aren't just getting a yellow card for time wasting. The opposing team gets an immediate corner kick. This is an absolute death sentence for the elite ball-playing goalkeepers who like to bait the press, assess the field, and build meticulously from the back. Imagine the 93rd minute of a crucial knockout game. The keeper takes 6 seconds to spot the ball because he's waiting for his centre-backs to split. The referee's hand goes up, the countdown hits 0, and suddenly you've handed the opposition a free corner. Mark my words, this will happen at some point. There will be a goal, shit will hit the fan. But not as much as this final rule, which is bound to be the most chaotic and highly controversial rule of the entire tournament, the mouth-covering red card. Under the new law, any player who covers their mouth with their hand, arm, or shirt in a confrontational situation will be shown an immediate red card. If it appears to be a friendly chat, then there's no issue. Now, the context here is serious. It comes directly after Benfica's 𝗕𝗫𝗓𝗏 was accused of hiding discriminatory slurs behind his shirt during a clash with Vinicius Jr. in the Champions League, resulting in a massive global ban. And while the intent to stamp out hidden abuse is completely correct, the actual enforcement is a legal minefield for referees. Players instinctively cover their mouse through everything nowadays. It's become such an instinctive reaction before whispering tactical adjustments to a teammate, just swearing to the high heavens in frustration because they're blowing out their arse after a 60-yard sprint. How on earth is a referee supposed to actually differentiate between a player hiding a vile insult and a player just expressing emotion? Aggressive, highly animated talkers who play with their heart on their sleeves, I'm thinking of Bruno Fernandes, Emi Martinez, they're in trouble. Even the most positive or encouraging words can look aggressive when you're in the heat of the battle. And the moment they get into a strong discussion and instinctively put their hand to their face, they're heading down the tunnel. It risks completely sterilising the passion of the game, although, as I mentioned, the intent behind it is absolutely correct. There is zero room for discrimination in football whatsoever. And finally then, we come to the ultimate nuclear option, where if a team leaves the field of play to protest a refereeing decision, the players involved get a red card. Any team official, so a coach or manager, inciting it gets a red, and the team automatically forfeit the game, resulting in a 3-0 loss. By introducing this, FIFA haven't solved bad refereeing, they've just legally trapped the players. They've got to stand there, take a catastrophic decision on the chin, and keep playing, because walking away to take a stand means losing your entire World Cup spot. Maybe, just maybe, FIFA wouldn't have to fear these protests if they didn't keep adding more and more complex rules to interpret, but hey, what do I know? These rules seem fairly straightforward on paper, but they aren't as easy to implement in real time. The flow of each game is different, the stakes aren't always the same, and there are so many things that can be open to interpretation. 1 minute a push in the area is being punished, the next it's not. Another moment there's a player taking too long to take a throw-in, but not being punished for it. In short, my prediction for how these rules will go down sounds something like a 𝗕𝗫𝗧𝗏 press conference. Sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe shit. Still, despite all these rule changes, I'm determined to be positive and believe that we will see the moments of magic which make a World Cup memorable. When the ball's flying around at breakneck speed, when everything is on the line as the final whistle approaches, and when genius strikes in the midst of all the chaos and the ball hits the back of the net. Before VAR check it, that is.